of fertility struggles for 15 years. I was married pretty young, and the first couple years we were married, I was just ready to have a baby. I wanted a lot of kids. I wanted to have them young. And couple years, 2 years into trying, I didn't get pregnant. At that point, I was only in my mid 20s after we'd been trying for a few years. Started to see doctors, unexplained infertility, went through some IUI treatments, had a run in with a terrible doctor, which is not uncommon when you're going through fertility challenges. And that just really turned me off to uh, like Western practices for fertility. That was 12 years ago. I do think that they've come a long way. And especially on Instagram, I found some amazing doctors, especially women of color, who are championing for fertility for those who are struggling with fertility issues. So I do think things have gotten better. There is hope. I just had a bad experience. And so that turned me to more holistic things. I tried acupuncture. I tried all the things that you hear people say: stand on your head on a full moon, soak your feet in rosemary leaves, like we could all write a book of all of the crazy things we've heard, right? That will try to help you get pregnant. Um, and so around that time in my early 30s, I started practicing yoga, and it was just a refuge for me. I wasn't practicing yoga with the intention of hoping it would help me get pregnant. I just needed it. Like I didn't know. I didn't seek out a therapist. I didn't have a circle of friends that were going through infertility. So yoga became my therapy, my refuge. I would get home from work, and sometimes if I was teaching elementary school at the time, if I was worked up, my husband would be like, "Are you scheduled for yoga tonight?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "I'm making dinner, go to yoga." And he'd push me out the door. So it became a refuge for me. And a couple years into practicing, I decided to start teaching yoga. I left my job teaching school. And then I decided to learn prenatal yoga. And this was actually after a pregnancy loss. So we had actually done a research study for an IUI. We were thinking that we would move on child free after infertility. Research study came up. I got pregnant through an IUI. I was pregnant with twins. I had 3 follicles, and I became pregnant with twins. And they lost their amniotic fluid somewhere between 11 and 13 weeks. And so they survived through 20 weeks when I delivered them, and then they passed. So after that, I was just like, I need to do something with yoga I started a little like yoga for miscarriage, like little meetup, had 1 or 2 women come every once in a while. This is when we're still meeting in person. And I thought there is something to this. So I did prenatal yoga teacher training, and through that I found out that there was this thing called fertility yoga, and it blew my mind. So a year ago I met my mentor and started studying fertility yoga, and it's just my life of fertility challenges and yoga just dovetailed, and I thought, okay, this is a way that I can support my people, support my community. I still consider myself very much a part of the fertility community. So fertility yoga is at its core a practice that is gentle, that is rejuvenating, that its aim is to help your body calm down from the stress. So, as we know, stress does not cause infertility, but infertility is stressful as a mofo. And so, the aim of fertility yoga is to calm the central nervous system, to bring the body out of fight or flight and into that rest and digest mode, where when we're in fight or flight, and those of you who have seen acupuncturists or alternative health practitioners, they've probably talked to you about your adrenal health and things. When we're in fight or flight, our body is not concerned with reproducing. It's like, no, we just have to stay alive. Tiger, run. That's a fight or flight. So our reproductive organs may not get the nourishment that they need in order to grow a baby. So coming into that rest and digest mode really allows the body to bring in more oxygen, nutrients to assimilate, and it just has this calming effect. And you don't have to do anything but practice yoga. So it's not like you have to sit there and think, okay, I'm calm, I'm calm, I'm calm. The practice does it for you, which I really love as well. So if you are familiar with yoga, Fertility yoga is yin like, but it's not yin yoga. So yin yoga is a completely different genre of yoga. We're not doing yin yoga, but it's yin like in that it's calming, it's soothing. It's like restorative yoga, but it's not restorative. It's its own thing. It is There are some tenets that are similar to prenatal yoga, and you can actually practice fertility yoga until you're through your first trimester. So up until 12, 13, 14 weeks of your pregnancy, you can continue to practice fertility yoga, which I think is a beautiful thing because, we just, it's our people, right? It's our community. Going to a prenatal class where you're the only one who's gone through fertility struggles, maybe this is your third IVF transfer and you're pregnant, or you've had 6 miscarriages and this is the furthest you've gotten a pregnancy. It's not the same as somebody who, oh, we just tried once and we're pregnant. That's their experience. Your experience is different. So prenatal yoga, in my own personal definition, is prenatal yoga exists to help ease the discomforts of pregnancy and to prepare the body for labor. So in fertility yoga, we are aiming to calm the body, to bring the body into this rest and digest mode, and to prepare the body for pregnancy, to prepare the body for conception, to grow that perfect little embryo, to grow that baby to healthy full term. So they are different. They kind of get lumped together sometimes, and that's not my favorite. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of fertility yoga. It allows for a lot of opening, a lot of circulation of blood, of hormones, of energy throughout the body. And it really connects us to our reproductive organs, to our pelvic bowl. And I don't know about any of you, but there was definitely a time where I just felt so disconnected from my reproductive organs. And I just wanted them to work. It's like, why aren't you working? And they are working. They are working. There might be some things in the way, but just like we might have a joint issue or something, like it's still working. We just may need some extra attention to that area of the body. So I love that it fosters this mind body connection and gets us back to really loving and appreciating our body. Yeah. So I'm happy to answer any questions right now. We'll do about a 30-minute practice and then we can have some questions at the end too. But if anyone wants to pop in with a question or two right now, I'm happy to answer that.
Thanks, Adrienne. That was really, really helpful. Yeah, feel free to either unmute and ask a question, or you can pop it in the chat thread as well, and I can ask it for you. Whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. And while you're thinking, if you have a question, I will just mention too that fertility yoga is safe for any phase of your cycle. And there are ways to personalize if you're in the follicular phase, if you're ovulating, if you're in your luteal phase or your 2-week wait, and also during menstruation. And if you're going through IUI or IVF, if you're stimming, if you've had an egg retrieval, an embryo transfer, it is more of a personalized practice. There's a way to offer it generally to everybody, and there's a way to make it really specific for what you need as well. So this practice today will be safe for everybody. And you may not know what's going on with your cycle. You may have had a period 2 or 3 months ago and you don't know if you've ovulated, you don't know what's going on. So it's appropriate for any type of cycle you have.
Excellent. I can't see any questions. Oh, hang on, chats. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Great. In this space. So the first one, how often should you or could you practice fertility yoga?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. It's perfectly safe and acceptable to practice it every day. And all you need is 5 or 10 minutes. I will share with you, we will start the practice with what I recommend to everybody for 5 minutes a day. You can do this with yourself if you're, getting pregnant on your own. If you have a partner that you're sharing this experience with, you can do it with your partner, whether your partner is involved in the process or not. If you have a male or female partner, you can still do it to bond together. So I will share with you at the beginning what I recommend for everybody 5 minutes a day. Of course, check with your doctor. Fertility yoga is extremely gentle. A lot of times we don't even stand up in the practice. So it's not vinyasa flow. That's for sure. Yeah. So I would recommend it every day. If you are stimming, you can still practice. If you've had your embryo transfer, you can still practice. Just want to really listen to your body. And that goes for any phase of your cycle. Just really listen and take it slow and take it gentle.
Thank you. Really good to have the 5-minute yoga as well, just for those days when you can't quite fit the full, a longer one in. So that's really great. And you've also kind of slightly touched on it, but someone else is asking, are there any other types of yoga that should be avoided when you're trying to get pregnant?
Yes. So these are just my recommendations. Do what works for you. Obviously, I'm a big believer in your practice has to be unique and individual to you. So I definitely do not recommend any power yoga, any power flow, power vinyasa, yoga sculpt, anything like that. I do not recommend. We don't want to stress the body unnecessarily when we're trying to get pregnant. So it might feel really good to do a power vinyasa, especially if you're stressed out. And sometimes that can actually stress the body a little bit more, even if you feel calm afterwards, because Shavasana is going to make everybody feel good regardless, right? So I definitely do not recommend any power vinyasa, any power flow, any hot yoga. I don't recommend hot yoga because again, it just unnecessarily stresses the body, and that's not what we're looking for. I wouldn't necessarily recommend Ashtanga. I feel like Ashtanga is possibly quite vigorous. So anything that's going to be vigorous and have you sweating and panting, if you're in a pose and your breath is struggling, that would be a practice to avoid when you're trying to get pregnant. So only you know what that feels like for you, right? If your breath cannot be natural and easy, I would say avoid it. And then just, unless you're in the follicular phase, avoid a lot of stuff with the belly. So deep twists, belly compressions, a lot like bow pose, stuff like that. It's great before you ovulate, but anytime after that or during stimming, just let this area be nice and open and kind of free. We don't want to constrict it in any way. Yeah, I hope that helps. There's so many types of yoga.
Basically, stay away from the kind of power stuff is the kind of general theme. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yin is great. Restorative is great. Yin is not great when you're menstruating though, because actually when you're menstruating and when you're pregnant, your body has relaxin, the hormone relaxin, which softens the joints and makes the ligaments more supple. Ligaments are not meant to stretch, but they become more supple when you have relaxin in your body. So I would avoid yin if you are menstruating and if you are PUPO, pregnant until proven otherwise, right? Yeah.
Great, thank you. One other question that's just come through. I've never done yoga before, and I'm working towards trying to regulate my cycle through nutrition and supplements. Will yoga help towards regulating your cycle?
Yes, I thank you for asking that. I love that you asked this question. I try to get in everything I can, but I want us to be able to practice too. So the system of yoga is actually, the science behind it was designed to influence the chakra system. And if you do not know anything about the chakras or don't want to look at it from that standpoint, the chakras are 7 energy centers in the body, and they are connected to the endocrine system. We have 7 endocrine glands. We have 7 chakras in the body. So yoga is actually a practice that helps to balance the endocrine system. The endocrine system creates and transports hormones and is definitely responsible for things like digestion and reproduction, and helps with neural pathways and communication. So fertility yoga especially is really created to nourish and enhance the efficacy of our endocrine glands, our endocrine system. So it's going to open up those pathways, create more communication between the glands. We need our brain communicating to our ovaries and whatnot for different times in our cycle. So fertility yoga is, yeah, that's like the deeper the deeper why behind it, it absolutely has a positive influence on the endocrine system, and it can help. I can't give any guarantees or promises. Your body will take in the energy of the practice and do what it needs to do with it. It can help to regulate your hormones and regulate your cycle. It can help if you have PCOS, endometriosis, unexplained infertility. My mentor has been teaching it for 20 years, and she has helped over 2,000 women conceive and give birth to healthy babies. So there is definitely something to it. I've had a couple students who had irregular periods and then their periods started. I had a student who was able to get back on her period and then do her embryo transfer. They had been waiting for a while for her cycle to regulate again to be able to do her embryo transfer. So it is a possibility. Absolutely.
Amazing. Thank you. All right. I think there's no more questions coming through just now. So I think we're good to go whenever you are.
Yeah, great. Okay. If you have any more questions, just pop them in the chat and we'll address them in the last 5 minutes or so after the practice.
One
Yeah.
thing that I was going to mention, sorry, hang on until the end as well, because I'll be sharing a discount code that Adrienne has kindly shared with us. So I will share that at the end when we do our Q&A as well, and share anything after the practice.
Awesome. Thank you, Abby. Okay, so head on over to your yoga space. You don't have to be on a mat, but if you have a mat, that's great. And I have blocks and a strap. Like I mentioned, you don't need to have yoga blocks. You can use a couple stacked up books. I've had a student use like a storage container, just flip it upside down so you can put your hand on it. And then a strap. If you don't have a strap, a tie, a towel, an exercise band, anything like that will work. So those are the props that I will be using today. And we'll start lying on our backs. I always like to come down nice and easy. Take your time. And yeah, you can leave your screen on or you can turn it off, whatever feels comfortable to you. So when we recline, you're welcome to keep your knees bent and your feet planted, or you can extend your legs. It's whatever's feeling good for you and your body. I like to keep my knees bent and my feet down. It feels safer and more comfortable on my low back. So I invite you to just settle in to your reclined position, any that you've chosen. If you would rather sit up here, that is okay too. You can be seated in a comfortable way as well. Your eyes can be open or closed. And I invite you to slowly just become aware of your breath. You might feel the inhale and exhale through your nostrils, or notice the rise and fall of your chest. And we will start our practice with belly breathing. And this is what I recommend for everybody 5 minutes a day. You can do it lying down, you can do it seated, you can do it when you're in bed, you can do it when you're sitting on the couch. I like to bring my hands to my low belly. If this is comfortable for you, I invite you to do it. If you feel sensitive about touching your abdomen, that is okay too. So palms down and just kind of resting between my navel and pubic bone. And let your shoulders and elbows be soft. Maybe your chin comes towards the throat to elongate the back of the neck. And with our hands here, or your attention on your low belly, when you're ready, on your next inhale a little bit longer and see if your belly will rise just a bit. And as you exhale, let it all go. Exhale through the nose and deflate. Nice, long, slow inhale through the nose. Do you feel a little rise in your belly? And as you exhale, let it all go. So I invite you to keep going with this practice, and I'll kind of talk you through it. When we belly breathe, our lungs expand so much that our diaphragm presses down. So we're not bringing actual oxygen down into our belly, right? It's coming in, our lungs are expanding. That deep breath, however, comes all the way down, and it's very calming. It calms the nervous system all the way down to our reproductive organs. And when we exhale fully and just let all that air go, there's just a moment of pause where you're just suspended. And then when you breathe in, just let everything fill up. This is without force, right? So you're just letting it come in naturally. And as you exhale, just let it all go. And please go at your own pace, whatever feels most comfortable for you with this breath. And let's just take about 2 or 3 more breaths like this. When you are ready on your next exhale, you can release your hands by your sides and come back to your natural breath. Bring one knee in towards the chest and then the other. If your hands do not reach the back of your thighs, you can use your strap here. You can put the strap back here, or you can just keep the feet planted for this as well. And with the knees hugging in, you can hold the crease of the knee joiner on tops and just find a little rock side to side. Maybe we even start to circle the knees. So everything that we do in fertility yoga is focused on bringing energy, bringing circulation, and rejuvenation to our entire pelvic region. And that includes our back and our hips. It's all connected. If you're making some circles, you can pause and go the other way. And just notice how your breath and the movement of your body begin to integrate together. Okay, when you've done enough there, let the knees hug in. We'll come into a happy baby, and you can visualize if you want one day you and your little happy baby together. You can take your knees kind of wide, and some of you will just be here, holding behind the knee joint and hugging in. And my knees are pressing down and also towards my shoulders. If it's available or this and you practice yoga and it's comfortable for you to come into an expression of happy baby where you're holding onto the outside edges of your feet, you can do this as well. So I invite you to always do what feels best in your body over what you hear me say. You know your body best, your body has its own wisdom, and that will benefit you more than just going along with what you think should happen, right? Another breath here. And when you're ready, exhale, let it go. Hug the knees back in. And I'll encourage you to just roll to one side and come up to seated. So instead of just rocking and coming up, just keep it nice and easy. Again, our aim is to just be comfortable and feel good throughout our practice. When you're ready, sit nice and tall, long spine, hips are relaxed. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead, big lift. Exhale, hands come through heart center. And again, inhale, reach up. Can you feel your spine get a little bit taller? Exhale, hands to heart center. One more time, breathe and lift up. And as you exhale, hands come through heart center. Release your hands by your sides and extend the fingertips out away from you. So let your shoulders kind of drop down. Fingertips are reaching for the ground. Let your chin come towards your throat. And when you're ready, take a breath in. Let the ear roll over to one side, ear over shoulder. And exhale, chin to chest. On your next inhale, ear comes to the opposite shoulder. And exhale, chin to chest. So take your time here. You're going at a pace that feels good to you, that feels good in your body. And if you want to come to full circles here, if that's feeling good, go for it. Maybe go one way, pause, and then the other. There are actually energetic connections between our neck and shoulders and chest and our reproductive center. And there's also a channel from our heart to our uterus. So don't think that stretching your neck is Just what is this for? It's all connected. Our body's all connected. When you're ready, let the chin come towards the throat. Just take a nice deep breath there. And exhale, you can lift the chin up. Bring your right hand to your right side and let that left arm come up overhead. You might just reach here, or if you want to come over for a side bend, go for it if that's feeling good. I'll invite you to keep this hip down and just focus on the length through the side body. So the length doesn't necessarily mean that you have to reach really far, right? It's more of an energetic reach. And if you want to look down to the floor, maybe up to the hand and keep the neck stretches going, that might feel good. Nice, steady, easy breath. On your next inhale, come up. Exhale, release that top hand down. Inhale, opposite arm lifts. Exhale, maybe you stretch over, or on the exhale, you just reach up. Shoulders are relaxed. Again, you can move through the neck if that feels good. On your next inhale, lift up, and exhale, bring it down. From here, let's go ahead and make our way to hands and knees, tabletop position. And if you need to move something out of the way, feel free to take a break, get a drink of water, a sip of tea, anything that you need to do to feel comfortable in your practice, right? Don't ever feel bad about taking time to take care of yourself. So in tabletop position, knees are directly under the hips and wrists are under shoulders. And go ahead and open your hands nice and wide so you have this nice steady base. And I'll encourage you to just draw the front body up towards the back body. This is different than engaging the abdominals, right? We're just gently hugging in. If you've recently, if you're in your luteal phase, or if you've had an IUI or embryo transfer lately, you can imagine just your little embryo and you're just hugging your embryo in. And then when you're ready, on an inhale, gently lift the tailbone, bring your heart forward and up, and you might open through the throat. As you exhale, round the tailbone like it's pointing to the ground, and then round your mid and upper back. Chin might come towards the chest. We'll just keep going with that fluid movement. Inhale, tailbone lifts, heart comes forward and up. Exhale, starting at the tailbone and hips, round the lower, mid, upper back, chin to chest. And take your time coming into your own flow of cat-cow here. This is one of my favorite poses or combination of poses for fertility. It really helps to open up our hips, our back, the spine, and it just feels really good. I feel like, it's grounding. I kind of feel like there's something like primal and feminine about it. And if you want, you can start to take that cat-cow into some hip circles. Another option is to sweep the hips back and come forward. So let your breath and your body just kind of guide this really free-flowing natural movement. Does not matter what it looks like. We're going for what feels good. And if you want to go the other way with those circles, however this is showing up for you. And when you've done enough, go ahead and come back to center. We'll come into child's pose. I'll show you a few variations with child's pose. I'm going to grab a little pillow here just to show what you can do with pillows or blankets too. Typically, child's pose is extended child's pose, knees wide, big toes touch, hips sit back. If your hips don't comfortably sit towards your heels, you can put a blanket or a pillow on top of your calves behind that knee joint. And then your hips will sit back on the pillow, allowing just some lift. You can walk your hands forward. You can stack your palms and rest your forehead on your palms. You can even have your hips a little bit higher and walk your hands a little bit more forward. So I invite you to find your own expression of child's pose that feels good in your body. Again, we're not going for what it should look like. Our aim is to feel good here. You might even find that you want some gentle movement, a little bit of hip rocking, kind of swaying side to side. Please don't feel like you have to hold still in your yoga practice. And I invite you as you breathe here to imagine that the low back is really expanding on the inhale, just like that belly breath, but now it's a low back breath. So a nice big expansion as you inhale, just let it all go as you exhale. 2 more breaths here. When you're ready, press into your palms. Inhale, lift the head and shoulders. We'll come back to tabletop, and then if you have blocks, I'll invite you to get your blocks here. If you don't, that's okay. You can also kind of just use some stacked up books or something like that here. So I'm going to bring my blocks over to the right side of my mat and step my left foot kind of wide, just outside of my left hand here. So we're coming a little bit wide here, and then let your right knee slide back if that's comfortable. The reason for the blocks is we want to keep the shoulders in line with the hips. So if it's comfortable for you to rest on your hands here, excuse me, go for it. Otherwise, some blocks can just allow the arms and shoulders to relax. So we're really getting this stretch through the hips. And I'll show you here, you can even let your toes turn out slightly if that feels good. And the knee is pointing in the direction of the toes. So this is a really nice stretch for the hip flexor, keeps the belly area nice and open. It's also good for the hips and the back, the inner thigh on the opposite leg. A few slow breaths here. If you find that you want to rock side to side or kind of shift the hips in some little circles, I invite you to give yourself permission to do that. So our aim is to keep that soft, even breath. If at any moment you feel like your breath becomes labored, if you're kind of forcing it, you can just back off a little bit. Okay, so from here, I'm going to pick up my hips, slide them back just a little bit. I'm going to take my right hand back and then heel toe my foot just to center of the mat or just left of center. And then my block comes outside on the left side as well. So now I'll take my hips back and let the front toes lift, and we're doing a hamstring stretch. You can have your blocks on any height or whatever you're using to really just bring the floor closer to you. And I'll invite you to have your wrists under your shoulders here, just so our arms can relax. If you want to point and flex that front foot or the ankle a couple times, that might feel good. And notice your knee and if it likes a little soft bend here. That usually is better on the hamstring and doesn't pull the back. If we think that can sometimes kind of pull on the low back. Take a breath in. Bring your hands inside your foot. From here, bend your knee. Little hug of the front body and towards the back body. Take your left knee out to the side and then move through some hip circles here. So sometimes these are called hydrant, right? I've heard that in fitness classes, where you're working the booty, and we're not working our booty here. We're just opening up the hips. If you want to take your circles in the other way, go for it. Notice your breath and how your breath and movement are connecting. When you've done enough, release that knee down and go ahead and find a child's pose of your choice, or if you would rather get some movement in here, you can move through some cat-cow. If you have a practice and you are in your follicular phase or even in your luteal phase, and if you want to come into a downward facing dog, you're more than welcome to. I would recommend, if you're menstruating or if you have just had an IUI or an embryo transfer, I would recommend staying in cat-cow. Especially if you're in follicular phase, your practice can have a little bit more oomph. So downward facing dog, you can send your hands forward slightly, curl the toes, lift the knees, press the hips up and behind you. You know your body best. When I was teaching prenatal, some women really, really loved downward facing dog. Others did not like it at all. It can lower your blood pressure, downward facing dog. So that's just another thing to consider, especially when you're pregnant and your blood has more volume and you're might be prone to dizziness. That can even happen if you're on your IUI or IVF meds. They can bring on some dizziness and things. So you can always try it out and then just listen to your body. All right, back to tabletop from wherever you were. If you have something to bring the floor up higher, blocks or anything else, books, take them over to the left side of your mat, and then we'll step the right foot pretty wide to the right. And then from here, I'm going to just slide my left knee back. So I'm creating more space, more openness. You're welcome to place your hands on the floor if that's comfortable. I'll show you, we're just not going for, this rounding and kind of this uncomfortable feeling. I like to use props to bring more ease into the body where we don't want there to be tension. We're attempting to release tension from one area of the body, so we don't want to create tension somewhere else. If your toes turn out to the side a little bit, that's okay. Shoulders stay in line with the hips. If rocking or doing little hip circles feels good to you here, go for it. Take your time. Slow, deep breaths. And when you're ready, on an inhale, take your hips back a little bit. Then I'm going to bring my right hand outside of my right foot. Heel toe the right foot so it's just right of center. And then evenly the hips will press back. You can walk your hands back, bring your props with you so that the wrists are more under the shoulders. And again, the reason for that is we're not, kind of slumping or reaching forward and then stressing the low back. We're attempting to create some openness through the hamstring and through the low back here. If you want to point and flex the ankle, that might feel good to you. Slow, even breaths. We'll take one more breath wherever you're at. And then on an exhale, start to bend the front knee, bring the hands forward or inside the foot. Start to slide your right foot back behind you. I'm going to square off my left knee a little bit. Pick up the right leg, bend the knee so your toes are pointing to the ceiling. Hug the front body in a little bit. Take the right knee out to the side and then start to move through some hip circles. And if you want to pause and go the other way, go for it. When you're ready, release. Once again, child's pose, downward facing dog, or cat cow, whatever's feeling good in your body this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you're at. The reason why I do not recommend downward facing dog when you're menstruating is energetically, it's actually an inversion. It's not like a handstand going upside down or anything. When we're menstruating, we want to keep that downward energy. We want all of our uterine lining to shed so that when the uterine lining is growing again after menstruation, there's no old stagnant blood. So we just want to encourage that downward flow, that downward energy of the body. And downward facing dog kind of brings you into a slight inversion. So go with how you feel. That's the most important thing. That's just my own recommendation. All right, we're going to come into a deep squat here. If you have a block and you want to use the block, go for it. You can also stay here and stay in more of a child's pose with your feet extended. So I'll show you all the options, all the variations. One would be just to take your knees a little bit wider than the hips, curl your toes, and your feet are separate. So the knee and ankle are kind of in line with each other. This is not like child's pose where the toes are together. And then press your hips back And you can extend your hands forward or you can rest on your forearms. So this is actually a squat. We're just not letting gravity pull us down. You can even take your knees and your heels wider, and you can come into this squat if it feels comfortable for you. If you want to do a little bit more, block or not, I'm going to show you with the block. I'm going to take my knees wide, curl my toes, lift the hips. From there, it's a little graceful move of sliding the block back, bringing your feet forward, and then having a seat. You don't need to do this on a block. You can stack up a few blankets, a few pillows. You can sit on a small exercise ball or like those Pilates balls or something. That will work as well. I'm going to face forward just so you can see. And my knees and toes are turning out. Some of you might be a little more forward here. It just depends on your hip socket and the anatomical makeup of it, right? And so our intention here is to just let everything open up, our shoulders relax. If you practice regularly and you want to be in your deep squat here, go for it. So it's up to you and what feels good. And I'll encourage you, wherever you're at, to bring a little bit more pressure into the pinky toe edge of the foot so that the arches lift. And I invite you to just relax through your shoulders, relax through the back of the neck, maybe even open your mouth and kind of move the jaw a little bit. We don't want to create tension where, and anywhere else in the body, we're trying to release tension. How are we doing? One more breath. All right. So you can go ahead and have a seat. If you would like a forward fold, you can press the hands down, lift the hips, heel toe the feet in just a little bit, and find a fold. The block can assist you here. If you don't want a forward fold, you're welcome to stay in the squat or have a seat. So in a forward fold, I'll encourage you to keep your knees slightly bent and soft. And we're lifting the hamstrings up towards the ceiling and letting the front body just cascade to the floor. Soft through the shoulders and arms. Belly relaxes. Okay, and then when you're ready, bend the knees, can step the feet back, hands down, and we'll go ahead and have a seat. So if you want to continue to forward fold in your practice and you might be pregnant, it's okay. You can take the feet a little bit wider. You don't have to come as deep into the forward fold. I have had women 9.5 months pregnant do forward folds in my prenatal classes. So again, listening to your body is going to be your best teacher over anything else. If you have a strap or a towel, go ahead and find that. I'll just do a few seated stretches here. And we'll start with that left leg extended. So go ahead and extend your left leg, point the toes up to the ceiling, and you can bring your strap or your towel just to under the ball of the foot. Then think about turning your heart towards the foot, gently onto the strap. So we're not squeezing. Sitting upright here might be enough for you. You might already be feeling a stretch to the hamstring and in your low back. If you want to forward fold, take a nice deep breath in. So as you can touch our toes. Are we there? Hi. Are we
Hi,
back?
lost you for
Okay.
work out whether it was my internet or
It could have been mine too. It's, that's just the reality of the world we're living in right now.
it is interesting, but we got you back now, so that's great.
Great. Good. Okay. All right. So we'll take if you've done enough here because of this little break, go ahead and come out. Otherwise, we'll stay about 2 breaths. And then slowly come up, and let's switch sides. You can bring your hands by your hips if you want, extend the opposite leg, bring the other foot in. And again, our intention is to keep the spine nice and long and soften through the hips. So if you're using a strap or a towel, go ahead and bring it to the arch of the foot, the ball of the foot, soft elbows, turn the heart towards the toes. Take a nice deep breath in. You might just settle here upright, or as you exhale, a little gentle hip hinge. So I believe I was starting to say that there is no need for us to have to touch our toes in a yoga practice. Nothing incredible happens when you're able to touch your toes. It's not a requirement or prerequisite to having a yoga practice, nothing like that. Let's give it one more breath. When you're ready, inhale, come up. And one more stretch here, feet together, knees wide. So this is one where you'll really want to listen to your body. Some of you might want to sit up on a pillow or blanket to elevate the hips so they're higher than the knees if this is causing any pain in your knees. For some of you, if you have some low back stuff going on, some issues with the lumbar spine or the sacrum, you may just want to sit upright and not actually do a forward fold here. So again, this is where you listen to your body, you check in, take a step, check in, take a step, or just stay where you're at. If you'd like, you can exhale and forward fold. Again, it's a hinge from the hip crease. You don't have to hold onto your feet. You can hold onto the shins or the ankles. And I'll show you from the side here, just so you can see that I'm not doing a lot at all. There's not much happening here. It's just a little tiny hinge forward. And if you're just here upright, that's okay too. This is a really nice pose for when you're menstruating. You can even recline back on to some pillows or something, or the couch. It's a really nice pose to do during the 2-week wait, the luteal phase, or after an embryo transfer. Yeah, it's a good one. Shoulders relax. Let's give it another breath. And when you're ready, slowly come up. Bring your hands behind you, send the legs out, give a little shake. That may have just shook my camera, I'm not sure. So we will do just a very short relaxation here because of our time together. Generally, I would recommend 5 to 10 minutes in Shavasana, and we'll just do about a minute or two. If you want to continue relaxing, you're welcome to leave the class and continue to rest or meditate on your own. You don't have to stay with us the whole time. So we'll come onto our back. This is safe for anybody to just recline on your back. There are a few more ways to take Shavasana depending on where you're at in your cycle. And I'm not going to get into all of them right now just because of the time. I could spend 15 minutes showing you all of them. If you have a practice and you've ever done legs up the wall, you can do legs up the wall in Shavasana, except when you're menstruating. If you've just had an IUI or embryo transfer, legs up the wall is like, you're golden. Otherwise, you can just join me. I'm just going to hold onto the backs of my legs so I recline nice and easy. We'll just take a traditional Shavasana with legs extended, arms relaxed by your sides. Please take any comfort measures you need. If you want to put on socks, If you want to wrap yourself up with a towel, put on an eye pillow, I invite you to get really, really cozy here. Eyes can stay open, eyes can close, whatever's comfortable for you. And let the body start to slow down. You can even imagine or visualize that your body is just slowly melting into gravity, letting go of all your efforts. Allow the breath to soften. And for a few moments here, just rest. You're welcome to continue resting wherever you're at. Feel free to give your body all the time it needs to just be in a comfortable space of relaxation. If you feel ready to awaken, find some slow, gentle movement. Maybe you stretch the arms and the legs. Take a slow, deep breath. Take your time. I invite you to just roll to one side. You can stay there as long as you need to. And only when you feel ready, nice and easy, come up to seated. Please take your time. And if you'd like, you can stay here for a few moments, just quiet, seated meditation. If you're ready to close your practice, let your hands come to heart center. Take a slow, deep breath in. And exhale, let it all go. And I thank you so much for practicing with us today. Wherever you're at, whatever time it is for you, I honor you joining us. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you, and your body thanks you for giving yourself some self-care, some time just for you. It's so important when you're going through your fertility experience. You need something just for you. So I'll invite any questions or any, comments or just whatever's on your mind, just for another minute or two.
Again, do feel free to pop your videos on or unmute, whatever you feel comfortable with, or just pop your questions into the thread. That's fine as well. I'm just popping in now.
You're welcome, Alessandra. I see she says thank you.
Yes, lots of people saying thank you very much. I have, while we
You're
wait.
welcome, Eva.
Lots of thank yous. Very restorative.
You're welcome, Amy. It's fun to see.
While we just say goodbye and have any questions, I'm just popping in the discount code that Adrienne shared with us into the chat. But the discount code is AppLove. So if you're interested in joining Adrienne on her monthly membership, which is called the Fertile Path, you can join that for a discount of $15 a month. I've also popped in her her website. Do you want to say a bit more about that, Adrienne, and what that
involves? So the best way is my website is just adrienne-johnson.com, or you can find me on Instagram at Fertility Yoga with Adrienne. I'm really, really present and active on Instagram above all other platforms. And my membership is normally $25 a month. I started it about a month and a half ago, and we have a nice group of women. We do classes, 2 classes a week, or 1 class and 1 meditation and breath work a week. And through the app, the code is AppLove, and you get $10 off. So the membership is $15 a month. So that's the cost of 1 drop-in class. And we do bi-weekly classes. We have a monthly support group, and there's an entire forum and everything. We don't need an extra Facebook group or anything. So I'm also in the process of creating some courses. And if you are in the membership, you get access to the courses as well. And otherwise, those will be a la carte on their own, but the membership gets access to them as well.
That sounds amazing. I might come and join.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, thank you, Eva. Eva said it's great. I recommend. Yeah, she's one of my founding members, and I just appreciate her so much. And, you know, we're there to support each other. We're there to lift each other up. And I'm so open to any requests, any recommendations. You know, it's new for me. This online world is new to a lot of us. So my aim is to just get all of us connecting and supporting each other, this amazing community of women. And partners are welcome, no matter who your partner is. You can practice with them as well. So yeah, we need to stick together. We're here for each other.
Absolutely. Amy is just asking, and what day and time are the classes?
Oh yeah, great. Thanks for asking, Amy. That is tough because we are all over the world. And so currently it's Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific, my time. So that could be lunchtime for the East Coast. That's evening for the UK. And so those are recorded, and the replays are in the membership permanently. So that if you cannot make it, the replay is there for you. And I go off of where the group is in their cycle generally. And then I add customizations for, you know, if somebody sends me a message and says, hey, I just started my luteal phase and everyone else is in their follicular, there's a way to make it work for everybody.
That sounds brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. It was an honor to share fertility yoga with you today. I know your time is precious. I know we get Zoom fatigue. So if there are no other questions, you know, I'm happy to just let you continue to have a good weekend. And I hope to see you on Instagram or in the membership or in the Fertility Circle app. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. Really wonderful to see you all. And thank you so much for a really nourishing class, Adrienne. It was really lovely.
Thank you, Abby. So awesome to be here with all of you today. I'm so grateful for all of you joining.